Folks, it's time to get your tinfoil hats ready. Pause right now before we do the opening track. Get yourself some tinfoil. Let's get these heads wrapped because it's an emergency. Cue the music. Welcome to UFO Report number 15. Today is June 23rd. You might be listening to this tomorrow depending on what app you downloaded, or you might not get to it until next week. Either way, if you're into this topic, you are well aware that our friends at Gaia have hit the mother lode. The mother lode being a three-fingered mummified body that was reportedly, allegedly, we assume that they're not lying to us, but that it was found in Nazca, Peru, not too far from the legendary and still unexplained Nazca lines, which people, of course, associate that with UFOs, kind of like a landing target for UFOs, a little airstrip. Because no one knows how the heck did these folks in Nazca 4.2 way long time ago put these lines as perfectly as they did. But today, this week, we have a bigger piece of news, and that is that mummified body. Why is this mummified body such a big deal? Number one, it only has 3 toes and 3 fingers. It has an elongated head, or skull, no ears, or a nose that can be seen. It is completely white. Apparently, as part of the mummification process, we're being told, in order to preserve this body, it was covered in some kind of white powdery thing. And yes, it looks like the character from the movie Powder. Now, this is all being brought to you by Gaia, who in the last few years has become very popular as a pay-to-view site, kind of like a pay-per-view, a subscription service to all things UFO research related. And so now, if you want to see most of the research behind this particular body, this alleged different kind of humanoid, then you'll have to subscribe to Gaia or hope that somebody does what they've been doing already and just downloading this stuff into YouTube for free. So earlier in the week, and if you've been following the UFO Buster Radio social media, you've seen that I've been posting about this for a couple days now. This apparent otherworldly humanoid is about 5 feet 6 inches tall. And besides the things that I explained, it appears to look human, and that's very loosely. It looks humanoid. The story has made it on to mainstream media. In other words, it's not just hanging out in the usual areas that we find it, like in the Sun or those other type of tabloids that we come across all the time. The particular article that I'm looking at today, right now, is actually from Fox News. So the story has hit the mainstream. And I can also say that I've also discovered that there's some rumors floating around social media tied to one Jaime Maussan that there are 2 more bodies that were discovered in this area. It is very possible that there are 3 bodies. Now, I just mentioned the main name that is causing the most amount of doubt in this story, and that is Jaime Maussan. So for you guys that don't know Jaime, look him up. Jaime Maussan is a media personality, a reporter of news or so forth, that has been highly involved in the UFO circles, ufology, from Mexico. Now granted, he is extremely popular in Mexico. No doubt about that. Unfortunately for him, he seems to have gotten a really bad rap everywhere else, but there's good reason for that. The first one is that he seems to be constantly bringing up these creatures that end up being hoaxes. Examples of these creatures were the Metepic creature, which was back in like around 2010, which was also pretty much proven to be a hoax. There was one shortly after that called the fairy demon creature, and basically it looked like a little demon thingy with like fairy wings or whatever. Another one that turned out to be a hoax. But the last one that really is unbelievable, which I'm not saying that the other ones weren't, because the truth of the matter is that apparently there was a taxidermist who put these creatures together. It's a long story, but I got the names of these creatures in the description, so do a search on them, get the full story, and you'll see why people are like running for the hills because he's involved. The very last one that's going to hit home for most of you was the Roswell slide images of 2015. On May 5th of 2015, about 6,000 people paid $20 a pop to watch a video to show Roswell slides, which were an alleged body from one of the ETs that crashed in Roswell in 47. It turns out that the pictures, the slides of this creature were not really of a creature, but instead they were slides of a mummified body of a 2-year-old, which was in a museum somewhere that someone took a picture of and somehow got Jaime and some of his cohorts to believe it was actually a picture of a Roswell alien. So there are other people who are chiming in on this. Number one, Snopes has already done their little fact-checking thing and decided that this is more than likely pretty much a hoax. The other individual that's mentioned in the article is Nigel Watson. May or may not know, but Nigel Watson is an author from the UK, and he describes the body as being a plaster cast model and says it's probably more than likely 110% fake. I mean, what can you say? It is his track record, you know. This could be, and you know, you still got to give him a benefit of the doubt because it's a freaky thing. But again, is he going to turn out to be the boy that cried wolf? Has he screwed over people in ufology enough that even if he had the real deal, people are not going to believe him at this point? Was it a bad idea for the people at Gaia to even have Jaime's name attached to this? Frankly, myself, if I was Gaia, I would leave Jaime Maussan's name completely out of the whole thing. Because unfortunately, his name is front and center stage on this report, and no one's really going to see past that. In the Gaia video that was already uploaded into YouTube, Professor Konstantin Korotkov of St. Petersburg University in Russia described the body as belonging to another creature or another humanoid. And so far, they have some DNA tests that they're going to be running and some additional CAT scans of this body. Now, initially they did do like an MRI and they did see a skeleton for this mummified humanoid, and they've even done some carbon dating. The carbon dating puts it in between 245 and 410 year AD. But of course, they're going to continue with the testing. You might have to pay to get the testing results. This is Gaia. If you want to know anything else, chances are you're going to have to pay to play. Now, I can tell you that looking at Jaime's Twitter account, he is very confident that he is going to have the last laugh, because this is going to be proven to be what he says it is, and that is a humanoid from 4.2 far. In addition to that, if you look at the video, they show petroglyphs in the area by the Nazca lines, and where they found this mummy that actually shows beings that have 3 fingers and 3 toes. So only time will tell. Right now, the overwhelming feeling is that this is another hoax by Jaime, and he probably sold the people at Gaia a bunch of BS, and he's going to get paid again, because we really do want to believe. So we have 2 more stories, and these are probably more like quick hits. The first one is, apparently I've been sleeping on the NASA story, because NASA, back in November, made an announcement. Maybe you guys heard it. You forgot to tell me about it. For years, we've been hearing that the water on the planet Mars had long evaporated. That there was a little bit of maybe some frozen carbon or something that you see streaks about here and there in the poles, but that's about it. Somehow, miraculously, in November of last year, NASA announced that it found, you're going to love this, frozen beneath a region in between the equator of Mars and the pole, a patch of ice that is as big as the water that's found in Lake Superior. And to put it into perspective, the area of water they're talking about is greater than the state of New Mexico. These are the same people that were saying that there is very little water left on Mars. But yet now we can fit an entire state into the ice that's there. And this is just one area that they've come across. Like I said at the beginning of the broadcast, you got to put on your tinfoil hat, because I really feel like the people at NASA are walking around doing this all the time. I mean, it's got to be. And I could probably put in a bunch of other sound effects, because this is crazy. Anyway, you might be able to look this up. I know Google Earth has a model, a 3D model that you can zoom in and out of the planet Mars. But the area that they found this significant amount of ice is Utopia Planitia, and it is in the mid-northern latitudes of the planet. And so apparently the orbiter that's going around the planet used a radar system called the Charade in order to come to this conclusion. Now this thing, it didn't just do it one time and say, hey, we got ice. According to them, it did 600 passes over this area to make sure that they really had what they thought they had. And apparently this particular study was led by a student in Texas. So there you go. We got to keep our eye on the woody woodpeckers over at NASA, because it seems to me like they keep sneaking these little things in, thinking we're not going to see them. But it might have just been me. I might have been too focused on the UFO stuff and not noticing that NASA is making all these significant finds, taking us on their plan of how we're going to reach life elsewhere. And now they have basically an entire lake of stuff that they can look at. The other thing they added on the article, which I also have the link to this also, is that they've described the area as being fairly flat. And so to me, They're already trying to tell you that the next rover, that might be where they're heading to drill into the ice. And if ice is on Mars the way it is here, frozen water, chances are it freezes from the top down, so we might have liquid water under the ice. But they don't even mention that in this article. I guess we'll see what happens in the next few years. Last but not least, I don't have anything on this for the description for the show. However, when I talked about the ultra top secret newfound MJ-12 documents that were reported last week, I think it was around the 16th or the 13th or something like that, I said that Stan Friedman apparently was taking a look at these documents and he couldn't disprove their authenticity. And I did say, give him a moment, he'll get to it. Apparently, he's not the only one, but there are other people who are now claiming that the document is a fake, it's not real, and that there's a lot of odd things found in the document, including the formatting, some of the verbiage in it that's not consistent with top secret documents. So we'll see if this document even makes it to the Roswell Convention where they can go ahead and talk about it. However, if you do look it up, you Google it, you can actually see the document now. It's everywhere. It's in PDF form. It's about 20 some odd pages. It describes the incident, how the bodies look. It's a long document, but like I said, most of your popular UFO researchers are already saying it's a fake. So either somebody out there wants to put the final kibosh on Roswell by having this fake document out there, or someone is desperately trying to keep the story alive. And then listen, after 70 years, there comes a time when you just have to hang it up. If you want to follow the show and any other stories that I come across before I get to report it on here, follow me on social media, Facebook, UFO Buster Radio page, Manny Moonraker page, at Manny Moonraker on Instagram, and at UFO Buster Radio on Twitter. Like I've said before, you can send me messages. I always answer. I have one individual who might be coming on the show on Sunday to tell us a story about his mom's experience when she was a kid in 1947 in Utah and her UFO sighting. So hopefully, Randy, if you're listening, hopefully you'll make it on the show. I think it'll be a treat for us because, again, 1947, around the time of Roswell, here's another UFO sighting in a different state. And as always, keep the show alive. Share, like, follow, plus whatever it takes. Support the show by sharing, because sharing is caring. This has been UFO Report number 15. I'll catch you on Sunday. Say ciao, Woody.